about, like, what are we for? What is that thing that we stand for? Rather than turning our energy to be against all the things we're fighting against, whether that's standardized testing or profiteering or inequity or push out, like, what are we for? It seems important sometimes to move our energy to that space. So here we are, like, to move it. I guess we can just start by who's here. We all know each other. And then a check-in. Like, we can just go around and check in. I don't know if anyone wants to jump in and start with that. And I can start, I suppose.
Thanks, Darcy.
Yeah. So things are okay. Things are up and down, and I've been instructed to spend less time at work and more time, like, trying to take care of myself. So in the last month, I've started playing my guitar again, and it's like, oh, hey, there's that part of me. I'm still there. So that's been really nice. So there's a lot of challenges. I'm no longer, as of yesterday, at the school in Sisters. So I'm focusing more on the other parts of my job, and then in the fall, it'll be determined whether I have more than a 30% job or will continue on in some other fashion with them to fill it up to a full-time position. So things are a little nuts this summer, but it's good. I think that I'm not there. The school took a turn to a different direction that I'm not really comfortable with. So became kind of a toxic thing for all concerned, and yeah, so we'll see how it goes from here on out. But I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to see all of your faces, for sure. And I will pass it to Jonah.
Okay. This is Jonah. Hello. I'm all right. I'm in Brooklyn. I am doing a little bit of trainings and stuff here and there this season. I don't know. Not too much happening right now. So things have been okay, not great, and that's it. I'm happy to be here, and it's fun to see people this week and talk a lot with everyone. Crystal.
Hey, sorry to not be on video, but I don't want a lag or delay. Glad to be here, glad to be in this space. Day one or day 1.5, I don't know, of the virtual LBS gathering has been awesome. We've had a lot of great conversations, a lot of wonderful, awesome exchanges. It's been good to reconnect with folks. Today, right now, I'm actually halfway back to Jackson, Mississippi. I was asked by a staff person from the Children's Defense Fund to assist with some tech support for the Children's Defense Fund Freedom Schools that they're having in Neshoba County, which is the same county that the 3 civil rights workers were murdered in 1964. So it's been a very bittersweet experience, especially given the recent news of everything that's transpired in Charleston, and then a few hours after finding out information this morning and last night, finding out that there was also a shooting in Memphis at a church. It's just been a lot going on, a lot to be thinking about, a lot to be prayerful about, and a lot of work for us to do as it pertains to democratic education across the country in Puerto Rico. So yeah, it's cool, a lot of work, but it's awesome work, and we're all built for it, tough for it. So glad to be here. I'd like to pass it on to the fastest note taker on this side of the world, Sean Strader. Dana, you know you're fast too, but you know.
Oh, no. It's Sean is.
Dana would probably have me beat if he used all of his fingers to type.
That is true.
I do not doubt it at all. That's the only reason I haven't bought you for Christmas like a how to type kit, because I know you just take the record from me.
No, I don't use
it. I'm good. I'm in Puerto Rico. I'm debating on doing my hair to this side or this side. One of the top concerns of Sean Studer's life. Just ringing in. Yeah, I'm good. It's nice to. I'm enjoying virtual LBS a lot. Darcy, I told everyone else yesterday, I just got off a national tour, so being back in Puerto Rico feels fun and funny and interesting. The mosquitoes aren't bothering me too much. The humidity's not too bad. Lovely Natalia's here, so things are good. Things are good. I'm getting ready to schedule a 2-week trip back to Phoenix to go into the studio at the top of July. So that's exciting. Then I'll come back after that and be in Puerto Rico for a while more until my next tour. So that's what I got. The man who could steal my record if you only used 10 digits. Dana.
Speaking of which, I didn't even get any of your update in there because my computer was being too slow. So you'll have to put in your update yourself. Darcy, I'm really glad to be on this call with you. I know we've all been busy and I've been missing you, so I'm glad to have this time. And I've been enjoying the week with the LBS as well. Some really good, really powerful conversations happening with the right people at the right time. This is our second open space conversation, of course, everyone. And yesterday's was on race, class, intersectionality, and talking a lot about accountability and responsibility. And that was just a few hours before the Charleston shooting. And so, we have these kinds of conversations are really important to have. And so all that is happening, and yeah, I'm doing well. Spent a lot of time with little Miles in between these conversations here at Julie's parents' house for the week while we get some window project happening at our house to get rid of lead. So, lots happening in the world, and glad to be here, Darcy. So I guess I'd turn it back over to you.
Thanks. Yeah, it's good to be here. I've missed you all a lot. And it's hard for this conversation not to just move into a family around the table session. So to warm up, I've been thinking a lot about, over the weekend we were at the caucus, the state caucus here in Oregon with the Rural Organizing Project, and some elders were there and some pretty important people in the community that we've lost. So we spend a lot of time talking about that, and I've just been thinking a lot about Grace Lee Boggs. Got a birthday coming up, and the impact that she had on the way that I look at my work. So I thought maybe we'd spend just a moment to shout out to those people that have done the work and brought us to this place, those that we learned from. So she's definitely one for me, along with all of you. All right.
Just share now, Darcy?
Sure. Yeah, I guess we can just go in the same order. What was that? Jonah?
Yeah. Sorry, what am I doing?
Just a shout out to people who you lean on or whose shoulders you stand on, or work that has come before that Whatever moves you, my friend.
I can go first because I was ready anyway.
Dana, go ahead. Jump on in there.
I was like, oh, let's go in reverse order perhaps or whatever. But anyway, or any order. I think in terms of this conversation specifically talking about what we're for, I think the person who has really most inspired me and I really value so much in terms of being so clear about what he's for is Justo. And so definitely bring him up, and someone who I know lots of us stand on his shoulders, small but mighty shoulders.
Awesome.
Yep, I'm feeling that. I was going to go in a similar direction, but I was going to say Anaides. Definitely for similar reasons. For what we're here for, but also we seem to be in a fun parallel journey of constantly identifying what we're for whenever we meet. It's an ever-changing thing in some ways. Temporal space. She's just kind of my what we're here for companion. I wouldn't be as thoughtful or conscious and aware of myself if it weren't for that lovely woman. So, nor would the work I do be as impactful.
Yeah, and I'll apologize now for any of the background noise. So, standing on my sister's shoulders. What I always think about in the work that we do, and just my day-to-day life, is someone that I don't know and never met physically, but whose spirit lives in a lot of the people I choose to connect myself with, and that's Mama Ella Baker. There's a lot of different things I've read and learned about her, and tried to embody her spirit and her actions and what she believes in through myself and the work that I do. Also, my son and all children across the country who deserve better and deserve the best, and who hold us really accountable for things that we say and things that we do, because they're the most honest people you will ever meet in the world.
Are we back to me now?
Back to you, my friend.
Okay. I guess lately I'm thinking about all the people whose names we don't know, and like what it means to be one of that group of people, and kind of there's a lot that makes the world happen, and just really thinking about who everybody who has been, and how to take that in. I'm not sure if I'm making sense right now, but where my brain is at.
Yeah, it makes sense. I get that. Okay, so this last weekend at the caucus, the focus of our work and our conversations, we tried to ground in how do you develop a loving movement culture, or you could call it beloved community. Like, how do you do that? How do you maintain those relationships in this kind of work? In Oregon, I don't know if anybody's if it's on their radar, but we had a militia standoff in Southern Oregon earlier this late spring, early summer. They just kind of moved out about a month ago. And there were young people. There's three young people in particular that were leading the organization work in resistance to that, organizing the community to like find their voice and stand up and say, no, this is not okay. And I am incredibly inspired and very proud of those young people and the work they're doing. But the thing they kept talking about is that they don't have relationships with the people on the other side of the issue, the people that are reacting in the ways that they're reacting and making the decisions that they're making, really based on their own pain and their own grief and their own inability to find, I don't know, a way to just have a life that's not constantly in struggle and in danger. And so often I think the reaction is a negative reaction, and when it gets to crisis point, then you have to try to build those relationships from scratch in the midst of all of that chaos and fear. And the young people, just, that's the thing they kept coming back to, is like, if we had had relationships with people before then, if we had built a community, even though we are politically and ideologically pretty different, like there's something that we can all agree on, and whether it's just that we love this place we live in, or that we want our children to have a safe and loving community to grow up in, or whatever it is, like there's so much more I think that we have in common than we do different. And so a lot of what we did this weekend was just kind of focusing on that. And so, I mean, it makes sense in terms of this conversation, and my head is pretty full, and so I'm probably not making a lot of sense either, but I don't know. It feels like, at least it feels like for me, that I would like to be able to say, when someone asks, what is it that idea is about, to have something more clear. And I know, like, it isn't always possible to like be really concrete and really clear, but like there's got to be some way of moving, some way of articulating that better, I think. So given that, what is that thing, that one thing that you could say that, like, no matter what, this is what I'm for, and this is what, like, I'm going to keep my eyes on, that lighthouse, if you will. And I'll just open it up to whoever feels the
Well, I don't have the answer, but I'll start by saying this. Inspired from something actually you wrote, Darcy. I think it was you. In the comments of the Google Hangout, you said a little thing about turning away from focusing on a movement or the movement and focusing on movement. Which is funny. It's such a simple frame, but it just like hit me like I was going fast in the lake and a fish jumped out of the water and just slapped me. Like I was like, oh shit, yeah, for sure. And I think, without myself ever having that frame, and this isn't a substantial answer, but maybe it can lead us towards something. I think idea is concretely about movement, not a movement, not the movement, but about movement towards equitable and just and quality, accessible education for all young people. Currently, we are focusing on the United States and Puerto Rico. But I don't think I can at this point be more pinpointed than that. And to be honest, I think one reason I can't is because I've been thinking through the frame of a movement, the movement, for a long time. And so, I'm speaking in for two reasons. One, to thank you for that really provocative frame. That's a game changer for me, at least. And it will continue to percolate in my psyche. Um, and also, we're about movement. And like I said, that's not a substantial answer, but that's something.
Thanks. I wish I could remember where I read that, but yeah, it struck me too.
There's also like a relationships piece, right? I'm just gonna throw out all the big words that come in. I just realized like I don't want to be in movement alone. That's not the point, right? Like something I admire a lot about Husto and the way he moves through the world is that I think movement is his goal as well. And I was actually talking to Dana about it earlier this week, or maybe last week, about this kind of shift in value in my mind, I think, about, sometimes it's hard for me to feel like something is important if a lot of people aren't at the table. And I've been running that way for a long time. And I just had this kind of epitome, I guess, if that's the right word, that, like, there's power in two. There's power in three. Like just sharing ideas with new people, bringing a new human into your silo or stepping out of it together, out of your silos into the same thing. But anyway, the point is, Husto's so good at creating movement by inviting and opening the door to just anyone. Just anyone, whether it's a perceived enemy or otherwise. And so relationships are key.
For sure. Mr. Sykes, good to
How
see
you
you.
doing, Darcy?
I missed you, my friend.
Haha, miss you too. That's a cute picture right there too, yo.
Yeah, that's my little grandbaby. Yep. He'll be joining us in about 10 minutes. His mama's got to go to work.
Okay.
Yeah. How are you, sir?
Pretty good. Of course, soaking in all this news from Charleston.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been all over the place. But other than that, it's a hot day in Mississippi. It's about normal. We're looking at these 90s and close to 100 at different times. So other than that weather is muggy, yo. But all you hear now is just people out splashing in the pool all day from the top to the bottom of the day. Folks was out there last night pretty late. So, yep, life is good. How about you?
Yeah, I'm here. This is good. I was just thinking, like, this would be a much better conversation if we were like on that beach in Puerto Rico or around a campfire or, yeah. But this is better than nothing, man. So I don't know if you have access to the Google Doc, Albert, so you can kind of catch up to where we're at.
Yeah, I think I saw it linked into the.
Okay. Yeah, so we're just kind of, talking about what that thing is that we're willing to fight for. It's hard to be against stuff all of the time. It's hard to spend energy, and it's important. Like, I mean, there are definitely things that we need to like resist and stop and fight, but like, how do you intentionally turn that energy and focus on the thing that you want to envision or bring into existence?
Okay. I don't have nothing to throw in right now.
Okay.
I caught the last of what Sean was sharing.
Okay. It looks like Dana, and you're on that with Alexa. Okay.
Hey, I don't know if are folks hearing me?
I can hear you. I see your note that it's choppy and you're not getting.
Yeah, yeah, it's still sounding choppy, so I don't know if you're hearing me choppy too.
Nope, you sound good.
All right. Well, that'll be a weird conversation. I'll talk, but I can't hear what other folks say, but that's all right. I'll try my best. But no, I think I get the conversation and where we're at still, though. And just sharing about, I like what you said, what's the lighthouse, or what's the, what is the one thing that you're for no matter what. And for me, I'm for, every person in every community to be who and what they want to be, and for making sure that can happen no matter what. And I think, grounded in values of justice and respect. And I think, which is clear because not everyone may want that, but that's a no, no matter what. So, and for me, I mean, that's about finding, that's about, making sure that everyone is able to find connection to theirself, who they are, connection to each other people, and connection to their community and the world around them. And I think that, for me, it's all about that. It's grounding in a sense of connection, which I think allows us to be who we want to be and to kind of create the world that we want to create together. So I'm for that vision of that connection to self and that connection to helping that happen. So when we talk about what we're for, I mean, I feel like it is hard when we're in the weeds and we're doing the work and feeling, doing so much logistical stuff or bureaucratic stuff or whatever to, but I, try and hold on to that vision no matter what. Yeah, I think that's what grounds me.
It was interesting at the caucus last weekend. We were talking a little bit about vision and connecting with communities, and people were having a really hard time doing that. Like, even in a community of social justice warriors and people that are like in it, to turn away from the battle and to say, like, this is what I want to see, they really struggled. It was interesting to think about. So how do you take that that intention out into a broader community and still, like, if you can't do it at home with the people that you're closest to in the work, if you can't sit down and have a vision of, like, what does this community look like when everything is as we would hope it would be, if you can't do that with your family, and how can you get out there with the people that you're struggling against sometimes, and have that? It was really hard. It was much more difficult than I imagined it being. And I think, like, at the end, as we were reflecting and kind of debriefing, we talked about maybe next time, and maybe this is because I'm an English teacher, but maybe next time spending a little quiet time reflecting or writing, free writing, whatever, thinking about, like, if you were somehow like taken up in a spaceship, which this is appropriate to, I think I saw a conversation you all were talking about on, I don't know, LBS in space, or so if you were taken up on a spaceship and then dropped back here 25 years later, and it were ideal, what would that look like? Like, how would you describe that community? I don't know. It's too hard to get caught up in, or too easy to get caught up in the issues and the like challenges and the heartbreakingness of it sometimes.
When you were talking, Darcy, I was thinking about like being reactive. I think it's so easy to be reactive, and it's hard to be generative. Isn't the right word, but run with me. It's so easy to be reactive, I think, because with all the issues and all the things that kind of just like come at us in the world of change work, it's almost like going to a batting cage. Like the balls, the softballs or the baseballs are flying, and you can just hit them. And so reacting is a lot easier in that sense. Like you're guaranteed to get batting practice, I guess, if that's all you're concerned about. I think what's really challenging about, let me look at the notes of what you were just saying. I think what's really challenging about building a new community of collaborators or whatever is that it's almost like an entrepreneurial or architectural or like laborer's mindset, right? You're like literally building something new.
Hmm.
That's challenging, but I think you're hitting like the root of what idea's about anyway. And I think a lot of our people are about is not being reactive. Like batting practice can be fun sometimes, but that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to reinvent or build something new, something that doesn't exist, because if we just react to what's there, then we're never really getting at the foundation of an ideal. We're getting to the bottom of something that's already been built that's problematic foundationally.
It's hard to imagine something you've never seen, that's for sure. I think that's one of the things that was most exciting for me when I first met IDEA. Scott and Dana were up in Vermont, and it was like the opportunity to look at at programs, at the bright spots that are doing things. If you haven't seen them before, you wouldn't imagine. Those of us who grew up in traditional classrooms with walls and chairs and desks in rows and teachers at the front of the room, if you've never seen anything other than that, it's hard to imagine that there's a world of others. And I think that's the most powerful thing about the work that we do, is giving people an opportunity to see something completely different and how powerful that can be. It's like, how do you describe the color purple to someone without eyesight? Or describe a sunset, or what the ocean sounds like if you can't hear. I'm thinking a lot. I read something from yesterday's conversation, Jonah, I think it was you that was saying, I know it was you, that was talking about the complexity of our lived experiences and like those places that we come from, and um, how do you navigate all of that, and then collectively with everybody else and all of their who they are's.
Well, how do we do that?
Yeah.
I'm listening, Darcy, and I'm thinking about this conversation and the topic and this question of what are we for, and it's funny. Like for me personally, this is a question that is at the crux of a lot that I'm struggling with right now. So I don't really know. Like I know that there've been times where I've been able to like really get excited about thinking about an answer to this question, and right now my mind is very like quiet and uncertain. Not in the sense of like I don't know what values are that I and we are down with, but I don't know. There's something about the phrasing of the question that feels very powerful and important, and in a direction that I'm struggling with.
Mm. Is there a better way to frame the question?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know of one. Oh my God, 2 Danas. This is amazing.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm trying to actually hear the conversation well. And trying on my phone, maybe it's better.
All right, I'm going to mute myself for a moment because there's a little one just coming to join me. I wish my camera was working. You could see.
I wish your camera was working too.
We got a picture now. Anybody else with like thoughts or struggles or questions with this?
I have something. I've talked kind of a lot, but I got something. I was just now thinking about new growth versus like deep growth or old growth. And I think I've been inclined, and even some of my comments today have been focused on like new growth. But like if you're a gardener or you take care of trees, like the way to create new growth is to like prune, like to cut away branches or whatever. And I don't think that's what we're about. At the same time, old growth develops new rings and thicker limbs on a tree, and a history that informs the new growth. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I guess I was kind of puzzling over that. It's not. I think we're for like deep growth, which is also new growth. Any growth is new, I guess. Are you there, Albert?
Yes, sir.
Lay it on us, bro. What are we for?
Uh, nah. I mean, I was just, I didn't settle on no one thing. I couldn't. I think for me, like when you throw that question out, and it's a great question, like the tendency of the mind is to like go to this big thing that you for and totally for. And for me, I think you do that, but then you also do that with the understanding of the small things that you gotta absolutely be for to get to that big thing. Um, and then also the things that you gotta be for after you get that big thing, because victory is a process, and I think you have small victories on your way to achieving the large goal. But then I think after that, the real work is figuring out how do you protect the victories that you got. I mean, because we see in our country that laws that have been in place forever, some of them good, um, some of them that guarantee civil rights in different aspects, voting rights in different aspects. You can come decades later and like take those things away or strip away the importance of those victories by removing a sentence or two. Or you watch the ballot initiative in Mississippi and look at, that can be a major victory, but then you also got to prepare for how you protect that victory with the anticipation that with the history of this state, it's definitely going to be some pushback and some things that's done to strip away the teeth or the importance of that victory. And so, yeah, I didn't settle on no one thing. I just thought about, hey, if I had one big goal that I was committed to and totally for, then I also would have to do that with acknowledgement of the smaller goals that it takes to get there, and then the things that I have to be for, or that we have to be for once we achieve some of the things that we set out to do.
Thanks, Albert. I'm for this little guy on my lap.
Sounds like he's for you too.
Ah, we're good friends.
Hey there, little guy.
I have grandbaby number 2 coming in January.
Man.
I'm excited. This Grammy thing is
Congratulations.
where it's at, man.
That's
It's
right.
fun.
Oh.
Hal said something yesterday. What does Hal say? I can't draw complete relevance to the situation, but he said something relevant to what we were talking about uh, white folks living in a prison, or something like that, a prison or a something.
He said prison.
Yeah, I'm totally for people not being imprisoned.
Yeah.
You know, in all senses of the term. I think that's pretty concrete. That's a concrete thing ideas about.
Mm. Mm. Hmm.
Darcy, hearing that little grandbaby there makes as it just makes me think, in terms of what we're for, something that I find inspiring, and uh, there's a lot more depth to it than I can say right now. But just something that I find inspiring that I from a lot of native and indigenous traditions is thinking about, as many of us know, thinking about 7 generations from now. And what we're for is not just today, but what we're for is 7 generations from now. And um, and so I think that, yeah, I don't know, it's different. A lot of times I don't think that way. um, I try to think that way, but it's, in the day to day, I just think of right now because it's so much pressing that you need to focus on right now. But of course, that's really at the back of it. We're about changing the reality of right now so that 7 generations have a different reality. Um, and so, but I think that's powerful, helpful framing for me.
Yeah, definitely. This guy motivates me to imagine what it could be. Um, I'm wondering, like, what is our role in creating that space where, in all of the pressure and all of the things that are happening that impact us, like on a daily basis. Like, what is our role as an organization for like holding some kind of space where people can like take a breather and create or dream or hope? And I'm really comfortable with these silent spaces, just thinking. Um, it's nice to like do that with you all, for sure. But I'm also totally open to like if we think we're at a place where we want to wrap it up, that's cool too. There's a lot to think about, and things that happen every day impact the question and how we like how I imagined this when I thought about this being an open space conversation a couple of months ago when we were kicking around ideas is very different than the space I am in right now. So maybe what's something that's exciting you right now in the work that you're doing in your world? Or where are you finding the hope?
Yesterday, Jonah talked about the difference between responsibility and accountability. that like blew my mind in a lot of ways. We were talking about who brought it up? Somebody brought up like it was in the race and class intersectionality conversation. It was brought up that it's challenging sometimes to talk with, as a white human, to talk with like other white humans who just don't really give a damn about race or equity or class and the intersectionality, and how it's hard to build up a will or desire or give a damn in them, and how sometimes we can placate the conversation on, well, it's your responsibility, um, which is a bold statement and it's personal and all of these things. But then Jonah talked about, I think it was Jonah, talked about how indeed maybe not responsible but accountable they are, in the sense that this is a planet built on social constructs developed by humans. And the change that we see in the world, like we're accountable for it as the leaders of the world, or at least the thoughtful leaders that we purport ourselves to be. And I guess I'm just in a way of mental frames today, Darcy. I have hope for that mental frame. I think it's powerful and opens up the doors to perception, I think, in a way that other words might not. So I'm excited about that. And I'm also excited about your frame of movement and what the steps idea is taking, organization, I suppose, to turn to that frame. I'm excited and hopeful for the steps idea is taking forward to share, invite, and create movement with communities. Namely, I'm excited about learning tours.
Yeah, I read that in the notes about the responsibility versus accountability, and I've been thinking on that too. So, yeah, for sure. And I'm excited about the learning tour video that I owe somebody.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally owe you that too.
Hey. Y'all will get it.
I feel hopeful a lot, and I think that's, these conversations this week for the LBS are, filling me with lots of hope and lots of excitement and lots of strength. I think that, I don't know, I feel like, what happens this week, what's been happening this week is we have a bunch of people who are doing some really great work and great projects, sharing what's happening and sharing some challenges and getting some thoughts and feedback. I think that's just an example really of all the different times or moments when we can connect with other people and hear from others, and I think that it's those moments where hope is created. And so I think it's just a matter of creating more of those moments, and I think that that's certainly been my own personal intention for a while. I think that's an idea's intention. I think that's LBS's intention, and I think that's the intention of many of the groups and organizations, both in LBS and partnered more broadly. And so I think that's, yeah, for me, I think that's what brings hope and brings excitement. I think often the opposite, of hope comes when we're disconnected, both from ourselves, from other people, from communities. from our own ability to be free in the world. Like that's when the lack of hope comes. So it's a matter of creating the opposite.
Not so simple, but maybe it's simple to describe.
Yeah. So locally, there's some cool things happening. We had 200 plus people in a book study group around. It was Daryl Wing Sue's book on white people's position in confronting racism, and I can't remember the title of it, but so 200 people in Central Oregon is pretty cool. We had 300 people show up for the rally in support of the action in Ferguson earlier this year, which was amazing in pretty white conservative Central Oregon. Lots of conversations, lots of people starting to have conversations. There's a restorative justice pilot project in a very small rural school in the South County area, and was widely successful. And so the vice principal, and some of you might remember Tanya, she was one of our Oregon organizers for a while. She's leading that effort, her and the vice principal, and so that's kind of exciting. And they're presenting to the wider district. So hopefully next year the district will be adopting restorative practices in their discipline policy, which would be great, and practice. So cool stuff happening, and that's inspiring. And it's great watching the young people from the southern part of our state and their courage, and they were really, really brave in being able to stand up and make the changes. And I'm in awe of some of the things that they're doing that a lot of people much older and maybe more, I don't know, I want to say callous, but that's not the right word. We ought to be stepping up to the fight as well, and really just the way that they're leading the work, and the joy that they have in it, even as they're, like, for example, rather than organize in a tiny little town a separate, like, Black Lives Matter march, they co-opted I think it was a right to life march. Something definitely led by people that would not normally be in on the conversation, and so they just, like, they saw it advertised and they made their signs and they joined the march and it was awesome. They started a lot of conversations, and they engaged with people that would not normally have been engaged with, and that was just, and they did it joyfully and playfully, and with a really serious purpose, but still got the work done, and they're just incredible. Reminded me of the kids at Providence Student Union in their gerbil costumes on the steps. So that gives me hope, for sure. Yeah, I saw your chat in the other on the other page, Dana, about like this being a question for who we are in the world, and I think that's really, really appropriate, really awesome. It's like who we are who are we as we do this work, right? That focus on movement rather than the movement.
Yeah. Thanks.
I'm trying to be more hopeful. I'm trying to like finding myself in my guitar again after probably 8 years of not paying attention to that part of me has been really powerful. And so it's really easy to just, because there's never an end to the work that you have to do. There's never an end to like the promises that you make or the things that you think you can impact or want to impact or people you want to support while they're in crisis. But you gotta, like, you really truly gotta take care of yourself and be that thing, right? So Hadley has about a dozen words he says, and one of them is cracker. in case you needed interpretation. He also says tractor. That was word number 4 or 5, I think. So farm kid.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've learned that I can decipher my own kids, my own little boys' words, but then I hear someone else's, I'm like, what is that? So I'm not exactly. I've learned I'm not proficient in all baby or toddler talk, but only my own.
Darcy, it's funny. It's been a pretty silent conversation, but it's kept me goddamn thoughtful the whole time.
Well, thinking's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's provocative for me. I'm enjoying it.
So we're down to 15 minutes. Do we want to do a go-round, kind of wrap it up? Do we want... I don't know if people are paying attention. Alexa's been following, listening. Hi, Alexa, by the way.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's try that.
Okay.
Is there a prompt you want us to think about for this?
Yeah, I don't know. Just kind of like moving forward into next week. Like, what can we do to help each other, like, stay hopeful and stay in that beloved community and stay like in the work? How can we do that? I don't know. Or what do you need? Like, if there's one thing that you could, if there's the one thing,
One more time. Yeah.
if there's one thing that I could do for you, like, what would that be?
Welcome, Alexa. I don't know if I'm answering this question, but I'm just going to talk anyway. Um, I had like a 2-hour fight this morning with myself that resulted in me winning. And winning looked like getting on my bike and taking like a 20-minute bike ride. And that is to say that, like it can be tough when it's tough, and having like finding moments for hope and small wins. Albert was talking about like the small little things, like getting on my bike is definitely a small thing that I'm for and is for me. And it gets really hard to do those small things when the kind of broader hope is not there. So, I think that as much as I really dislike the notion of small steps, and I reject it most of the time, I think it still finds its way to be important in moments. And so when you ask like what do we need in order to continue to have hope, in order to continue to whatever, I think about that. I think about those little battles that are so hard, like so much harder than they should be. And then I think about like the big things, like the worldliness, the things happening in our society, the shootings yesterday and today, like that. That's hard. It's hard to reconcile that like I'm the same person who thinks about that and tries to find like courage and capacity to support and work against that, and also has like 2-hour battles with myself about getting on a fucking bicycle. I don't know why that all came out, but there it is. Mostly to make Sean laugh on you, because that's.
Well, if nothing else, Jonah, you just gave me some hope. I like the small wins. I'm a details guy. I like the small steps. I used to have a neighbor. I'm sure I've told everyone this call this story at least once, maybe not. I used to have a neighbor who played frisbee golf, and he wanted me to play frisbee golf with him all the time. So I started, and all I ever wanted to do was sink a really long drive. I just wanted to like ace every hole. So I just sit in my backyard with my frisbee golf cage and throw the frisbee like 40, 50 yards and miss every time. He came over one day and he told me to stop doing what I was doing. Yeah, he told me to putt. He said, you'll never get a sense of satisfaction or what it's like to win or what it's like to get to where you need to be if you're just missing all the time going for the bigger thing. But if you can concentrate and focus on some of the smaller wins, eventually you'll be able to take a step back and get that medium win, and so on and so forth. And then, along with what Albert was saying earlier about protecting your successes, he went further to say, and I usually don't say this part, but once you start getting those big drives and getting those bigger wins too, you can't forget to continue focusing on the smaller wins as well. Because, it's hard to stay sharp from such a far distance away. It's hard to stay sharp and get the goals you have set out months or years away. And so, thanks for the hope, conversation, and Jonah. Focus on some small steps. I don't know. That's what I got.
Nice. I need to stay connected with you all. I think I've missed that. And the same time, it's those little things like making the time to sit down and plunk a little bit and build the calluses on my fingers is important. And it's easy to not do that, so I need to do that. And yeah, I need to focus on the hope too, and you all always bring that, and I'm grateful. And I'm glad to see your face, Alexa.
It's good to hear you. I'm sorry it's so loud. There was a parade, apparently.
You can join the parade. That's
I love it.
I can hear you pretty well. So if Lex is not going to talk now anymore, then I will then I will just say I think I have to you ask the question like what do you need, or there's one thing someone we can all do for each other. I think I need to be better at saying and figuring out what I need. What I need is to be able to figure out what I need, because I think for me I usually I don't figure it out until it's too late, pretty much usually, or I just kind of push through and just kind of do what I can and try and help and do things and go forward, and then don't realize until later that, oh yeah, if I had asked for that, it would have been a lot better, perhaps. So yeah, I don't know if that's anything to do with hope or anything. It's just a personal. I thought about trying to answer the question honestly. I think that's what first came up. So, yeah, I mean, I think maybe it's not so trite in a way, but I think yeah, it's sometimes hard to be able to ask for help and to ask, and think about that self-care for a moment, so that we can keep going and keep that hope alive. So I guess I don't know, I'm trying to find connection to the rest of the conversation, but not really finding it right now. So I'm just going to leave it there and, and let that sit.
Yeah, I think that's good. I can make sense out of that. So we have 4 more minutes. I am going to, if not in action, at least in my heart, keep in mind that Jonah needs to focus on the small steps, and Sean needs to focus on the hope, and Dana needs to be asked, what is it that you need? And Alexa's in a parade, so you are all really truly inspiring to me, and I'm really thankful for y'all. Yeah, so unless we have anything else,
I just want to say, Darcy, that you're one of the most genuine human beings I've ever met, and you're outstandingly inspiring to me. So, thanks. A lot.
Thank you.
Thank you for the time and space. I think it's been fruitful.
Good, I hope so.
Nourishing.
It's nice to think together with some really inspiring people. So, yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, thank you, Darcy.
Thank you all. Thanks for Thanks for joining. It's great to see you. And with that, we can take a deep breath. Go back to it, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna play my guitar though.
Nice.
You know?
All right.
Nice.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.